Roughnecks The Starship Troopers Chronicles is a 1999 CGI TV show made for kids and it's pretty bad.
We're here to ensure the safety of these people.
Not only its visuals aged like a jar of semen, but it also doesn't play on the strength of either the movie or the book. Or the anime. It's yet another original setting based on Island's writings, and once again the political aspect is forgotten in favor of action.
I will destroy you, human! That's the colonel I remember.
It might have some nostalgic value for someone, but especially considered that it is incomplete, I don't recommend it. Let's begin.
Tell HQ this was your idea, Lieutenant. We'll give you a medal.
Walker did tell HQ that Operation Bug Drop was his idea, and they did give him a medal.
All Starship Troopers media so far started with Rico as a civilian deciding to enlist for a reason or another. Roughnecks doesn't. It opens with a narration telling us that Earth united because of the bugs and hastily introducing our characters.
Earth to Rico! Earth to Rico! Come in, please.
Gossard, Tech Guy, Doc, the Medic,
Radical reconstructive surgery is the only option.
Leg's that bad?
Leg's fine. I was talking about your face.
and Sergeant Brutto, which means ugly in Italian.
Expect ugly, like nothing you've ever seen.
Give the man a mirror.
Then there's Dizzy and Rico, the new guys.
Rico, our first drop. We're talking huge life moment here. You're not even a little excited?
No.
Higgins, war correspondent and narrator.
Permission to be spooked, sir.
Carl, psychic special ops that for some reason reminds me of the Globlogabgalab. And the ex-teacher, Lieutenant Razak.
Ratchet.
No, Razak, they downgraded his name for some reason. The show should really have spent an episode or two properly introducing the characters. Their voice acting is pretty good and their interactions can be fun, but it takes a couple of arcs before you really get to know them.
How many can you take down?
12.
Higgins?
12?
So, 5 minutes into episode 1, after exchanging pleasantries, these people we barely know drop on Pluto,
Live forever, Ames.
and thus begins the mind-numbing routine of boring, relentless, ugly-looking action with interspersed dialogue. The reasons why the action sucks are: 1. There's too much of it. Since this was supposed to air daily, they try to keep the episodes engaging, but they fail because 2. There's no stakes. The bugs are downright goofy in this. And even when there's nameless extras that could easily serve as canon fodder, they never take the opportunity. I don't know if it's because of the rating or because gore is hard to do in Windows 3D Movie Maker. They'll occasionally injure someone for plot reasons, but the bugs never feel like a threat, especially because of the cartoony physics.
Marauders down! Doc, Gossett, status? We're turtles.
Tech usage is also inconsistent. Each trooper has a jetpack, a thermal scanner and a grenade launcher, among other things that are often forgotten about. The dialogue too is...
We have an R-triple-D. Do you read?
R-triple-D. That's code.
Yeah, really deep doo-doo.
epic. Okay, if I were a kid returning from school, I wouldn't mind watching an episode of this instead of the 17th rerun of Dragon Ball Z, but when watching whole arcs together, then there's so much never-ending, consequenceless action that just bored me to tears. Of course, the worst part of all of Roughnecks is the presentation, 480p, often too dark and with ugly models left and right. Every time somebody tried displaying emotions, it cracked me up.
I just wanted to say, you handle yourself pretty good back there for a fly girl.
The sound too is garbage. For instance, listen to the Morita fire. The music is subpar as well. What about the plot then? Roughnecks is divided in 8 different story arcs taking place on 8 different planets. Each one looks fairly distinct and new types of bugs and new technology are introduced in each one. The variety in the environments is pretty good. Water planet, jungle planet, snow planet, human planet, they're different enough to keep the look fresh. Particularly cool is the MI's different equipment for different terrain, however the episodes are sometimes samey. For example, there's a lot of doesn't fit storylines. The squad doesn't think the new guys are good enough to be troopers. The squad doesn't think the reporter is good enough to be a trooper. The squad doesn't think the pilot is good enough to be a trooper. The squad doesn't think the robot is good enough to be a trooper. The squad doesn't think the alien is good enough to be a trooper. The squad doesn't think... Speaking of the alien, in the book, during the prologue, the MI is raiding the Skinnies. They're doing their best to cause as much damage as possible to the infrastructure while limiting the civilian casualties. At one point, Rico uses a bomb that yells in the Skinny language to evacuate before it blows, for example. The Skinnies eventually switch side in the war. Instead of aiding the bugs, they become co-belligerents of the Federation. This is both an example of effective, focused destruction only infantry is capable of and of violence solving problems. But here the Skinnies are just mind controlled. Or rather spine controlled. However, this leads to one of them joining the squad and is a fun character.
Real men smell, and real women like it.
This is true. My mate chose me for my scent.
Yeah, hands down the best thing of the series is that while almost nobody dies, it's not afraid to shuffle the Roughnecks roster a fair amount of time, although some ways are more retarded than others.
Sarge! My legs!
This culminates with Rico eventually becoming the squad's lieutenant with Brutto's son and Sergeant Zim under him, played by none other than Clancy Brown himself.
To think this had to happen to me. Suck in that gut! You think you're infantry? You think you're apes? Feet together! You don't rank as scum in my book.
Once the impact of seeing, this faded, I've grown to actually enjoy the show a bit. To be fair, the last arc is actually gripping, with Earth under attack, Rico's leadership being tested, and new characters to properly discover. But, of course, it ends before the big resolution.
The end was near. The final battle. Humanity's last stand was just around the corner.
If the last 4 episodes were actually made, I would have recommended this to people who tolerate shitty CGI. Unless you're one of those people who actually likes awful looking computer animation, Roughnecks isn't for you. So, Roughnecks, the Starship Troopers Chronicles. Don't watch it. It's not egregious, but it's boring, shallow and ugly while built on the shoulders of solid, well-made and purposeful media. If the series hadn't been mistreated, I'm willing to bet it would now be a dated but acceptable product, still cheesy and made for kids, but at least finished. As it stands, whichever way you look at it, there's nothing that elevates this series to watchable standards beside ironic enjoyment of it. Speaking of, enjoy a compilation of the best of the worst. Thanks for watching. See ya!
Hey, LT, what's up?
Not your performance rating. I don't know what the problem is with you apes, but the sloppy performance and tactical errors I witnessed over the past 10 days were an embarrassment.
You accuse me of taking risks? That's a laugh.
What are you talking about?
That time in the cave when you were trying to impress Carmen?
Get serious, I was doing my job.
Oh, please, do I look like an idiot?
You said it, not me.
Am I interrupting you two?
Yes!
No, sir.
No, sir.
Sorry, sir. Cover me!
This is what I was talking about!
Flores, you're still making the same mistakes you did as a student. Think first, act second.
Yes, sir.
Tango Squad's beacon was activated in your exact grid location 15 minutes ago.
Pooh! Who's ready to party?
Pass. Count me out.
Ditto.
Please, like you've all got something better to do?
Hot shower.
Sleep. Food.
Big time.
Hey, I'm ready to party, Diz.
On the other hand... Kin, Bobby! Let's rock!
Go easy on him, Diz.
He's just a kid.
Andrews Aces! Andrews Aces!
Yeah, well, if something ever happens to me, just remember the sign hanging on my brain. No trespassing.
Are you sure that sign doesn't say no occupancy?
One of these wires will cut Xander's override. The other will kill the auxiliary power completely. What's your favorite color?
I'm a medic, not an electrician.
Red.
Cut the blue.
You're a medic, not an electrician.
Flores.
Yes!
Gossard.
Come to Papa!
Rumble, grind, screams, satisfied?
The tank was secure to the floor. The fluid could have been amplifying the subterranean noise.
Thank you!
They're smarter than they look.
Gotta watch out for those fireflies.
Fire fries. That thing burned right through my glove.
We have your position. Take cover.
No need, Red Leader. We have the situation under control.
Take cover!
No need.
I said agreed.
Oh, what's the problem, Higgins?
What are you talking about?
We're talking about what people do when they're friends.
Like talk about their families, their girlfriends, their recent loss of girlfriends.
Rendezvous here by sundown. Fine. Back here at 0800. Sequoia or no Sequoia?
Flores, 30 seconds. 77 enemy hits. Higgins, 30 seconds. 2 enemy hits. 2 trooper hits.
2 of them, 2 of us. At least he's fair. Not bad, Diz. Put you second in the standings, right behind me. Higgins and Dizzy are checking out some rocks, possibly Argonite crystals. Over.
What am I checking out?
Correction. Higgins is sampling the Argonite.
The Wasp can't take the weight.
What now, Corporal?
Pinochle, anyone?
I don't know how to play pinochle.
Nobody knows how to play pinochle.
I know how to play pinochle.
Is that all you got, Isabel?
Name's Dizzy.
Dizzy, it is.
We are fortunate to be alive, but with power and provisions in short supply, and even air and water at a premium, our prospects seem grim indeed. Our prospects seem grim indeed.
I'd say that was fairly accurate. Of course, if you pitched in instead of shooting for a posthumous Pulitzer, it might improve our chances.
Rico, what's with Flores?
She saw bugs in the lake and attempted to draw them out into the open, sir.
If I want a fairy tale, I'll read Cinderella.
Thinking about your family? My children. I can see the resemblance.
The Queen's Lair.
Gee, 7 of us, 1 billion of them.
Poor things don't stand a chance. I meant us.
Interesting strategic positioning.
I don't see you offering to help Doc.
I would if he asked.
Yeah? Well, I didn't ask.
You could read me a bedtime story.
Number 2 charge, reset!
Negative.
Number 3?
Come on, come on!
Still not it.
Still not it.
I hate when you do that.
Sergeant's first.
We like you better gift wrapped.
We're toast.
We are not toast. Sir, we were only able to deal with brain bugs because of Carl. Without him, this sounds like the textbook definition of suicide mission.
Your point?
So let me see if I understand this. If we blow it, our side blows us up?
In a nutshell.
I feel so much better now. Because I crave the pump! That's right! Bring it on! Think they're buying it?
Oh, yes. Very convincing.
Afternoon. Lovely weather, wouldn't you say?
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
That is something I do not understand about you humans. Your preoccupation with the weather.